Acts
Acts
chapter 17,
chapter 17,
22,
22,
chapter 18,
chapter 18,
7.
7.
For you
For you
bring some
bring some
strange things
strange things
to our ears.
to our ears.
We wish to
We wish to
know,
know,
therefore,
therefore,
what these
what these
things mean.
things mean.
Now all the
Now all the
Athenians
Athenians
and the foreigners
and the foreigners
who lived there
who lived there
would spend their time
would spend their time
in nothing
in nothing
except telling
except telling
or hearing
or hearing
something new.
something new.
So Paul,
So Paul,
standing in the midst
standing in the midst
of the
of the
Areopagus,
Areopagus,
said,
said,
Men of Athens,
Men of Athens,
I perceive that
I perceive that
in every way
in every way
you are very religious.
you are very religious.
For as I passed along
I passed along
and observed the objects
and observed the objects
of your worship,
of your worship,
I found also
I found also
an altar
an altar
with this inscription,
with this inscription,
to the unknown God.
to the unknown God.
What therefore
What therefore
you worship as unknown,
you worship as unknown.
this I proclaim to you.
This I proclaim to you.
The God
The God
who made the world
who made the world,
and everything in it,
everything in it,
being Lord
being Lord
of heaven
of heaven
and earth,
and earth,
does not live in temples
does not live in temples
made by man,
made by man,
nor
nor
is he served
is he served
by human hands,
by human hands,
as though
as though
he needed anything,
he needed anything,
since he himself
since he himself
gives to all
gives to all
mankind life
mankind life
and breath
and breathe
and everything.
and everything,
And he made from
and he made from
one man
one man
every nation of
every nation of
mankind
mankind
to live on
to live on
all the face of
all the face of
the earth,
the earth,
having
having
determined
determined
allotted periods
allotted periods
and the boundaries of their
and the boundaries of their
dwelling place,
dwelling place,
that
that
they should seek God
they should seek God
in the hope
in the hope
that they might feel
that they might feel
their way
their way
toward him
toward him
and find him.
and find him.
Yet he is
And he is
actually
actually
not far from
not far from
each one of us.
each one of us.
For
For
in him
in him
we live
we live
and move
and move
and have our being,
and have our being,
as even
as even
some of your
some of your
own poets have said.
own poets have said.
For we are
For we are
indeed his offspring,
his offspring,
being
being
then God's offspring.
then God's offspring.
We ought
We are
not to
not to
think
think
that the divine
that the divine
being is
being is
like gold
like gold
or silver
or silver
or stone,
or stone,
an image formed
an image formed
by the art
by the art
and imagination of man.
and imagination of man.
The times of ignorance of God, the times of ignorance God
The times of ignorance God
overlooked,
overlooked,
but now
but now
He commands
He commands
all people
all people
everywhere
everywhere
to repent,
to repent
because
because
He has fixed a day
He has fixed a day
on which
on which
He will judge
He will judge
the world in
the world in
righteousness
righteousness
by a man
by a man
whom He has appointed.
whom He has appointed.
And of this
And of this
He has given
He has given
assurance
assurance
to all
to all
by raising Him
by raising Him
from the dead.
from the dead.
Now,
Now,
when they heard of the
when they heard of the
resurrection of the dead,
resurrection of the dead,
some mocked,
some mocked,
but others said,
but others said,
"We will hear you
"We will hear you
again about this."
again about this."
So Paul went out from their
So Paul went out from the
midst,
midst,
but some men joined him
but some men joined him
and believed,
and believed,
among whom
among whom
also were
also were
Dionysius
Dionysius,
the Areopagite,
the Areopagite,
and a woman
and a woman
named
named
Damaris,
Damaris,
and others with them.
and others with them.
Acts
Acts
chapter 18.
chapter 18.
After this, Paul
After this, Paul
left Athens
left Athens
and went to
and went to
Corinth,
Corinth,
and he found a Jew
and he found a Jew
named
named
Aquila,
Aquila,
a native of
a native of
Pontus,
Pontus,
recently come from
recently come from
Italy,
Italy,
with his wife
with his wife
Priscilla, because Claudius
Claudius
had commanded
had commanded
all the Jews to leave Rome,
all the Jews to leave Rome,
and he went to see them,
and he went to see them,
and because
and because
he was of the
he was of the
same trade,
same trade,
he stayed with them
he stayed with them
and worked,
and worked,
for they were
for they were
tent makers
tent makers
by trade.
by trade,
And he reasoned
and he reasoned
in the synagogue
in the synagogue
every Sabbath,
every Sabbath,
and tried to persuade
and tried to persuade
Jews
Jews
and Greeks.
and Greeks.
When Silas and Timothy
When Silas and Timothy
arrived from
arrived from
Macedonia,
Macedonia,
Paul was occupied with the word,
Paul was occupied with words,
testifying to the Jews
testifying to the Jews
that the Christ was Jesus.
that the Christ was Jesus.
And when they opposed
And when they opposed
and reviled him,
and reviled him,
he shook out
he shook out
his garments
his garments
and said to them,
and said to them,
"Your blood be
"Your blood be
on your own heads.
on your own head.
I am innocent.
I'm innocent.
From now
From now
on,
on,
I will go to the Gentiles."
go to the Gentiles."
And he left there
And he left there
and went to the house
and went to the house
of a man
of a man
named
named
Titius
Titus
Justus,
Justus,
a worshipper of God.
a worshipper of God.
His house was
His house was
next door to the synagogue.
next door to the synagogue.